Update. Am I the a-hole for stopping my boyfriend's proposal at our best friend's wedding? Original post. I, 26 female, and my boyfriend, 25 male, attended a mutual friend's wedding. They're very close friends to us and brought my boyfriend and I together. My boyfriend and I are coming up on our 3-year anniversary and things were getting pretty serious. Enough so that I very much wanted to marry him. He's sweet, chatty, typically considerate and empathetic. He's the person who I thought was the first to show me what a truly healthy and compassionate relationship was like. He's very serious about us too. We've had long talks about marriage, and it seemed we were in agreement with no formal declaration. We had even gotten as far as looking at rings, so the chance of a proposal was more of a when, not if. A few weeks before the wedding, us and the engaged couple at the time were hanging out. The topic of weddings was very prevalent, and my boyfriend had cracked a joke about proposing at our friend's wedding. The groom-to-be joked back and said, "That'd be funny as heck." This was followed by me and the bride-to-be both shutting it down, trying to be serious, but also not thinking he was serious. He was. During the reception, everyone had made their speeches and people were getting their food. While our table was waiting, my boyfriend went up to the DJ, and after, they played my boyfriend and I's favorite song to scream-sing in the car together, Story of My Life by One Direction. I look at him, smiling, and he's looking around. All of a sudden, he grabs a fork, stands up, and begins clanging on a glass. Immediately, the whole dining room looks over. I stand up and whisper the words, "Not right now." His face drops, and he yells a mix of, "I'm sorry, I was just joking." After he sat back down, I verbatim said, "Let them have their moment. Let's not make this our own." He wouldn't even look at me. When it was time to get our food, he immediately goes toward the exit. I follow and try to catch up to him, but couldn't find him. I text him twice and call him a couple times, but got no answer. So I went back to the reception. After not hearing from him for about an hour and a half or so, he returns, sits down, and doesn't even look at me. The rest of the night was terrible. He looked like his dog just died, and I'm trying to make the best out of the night, but felt like I was just in his shadow. I was prepping for a breakdown or maybe a fight in the car, but the only thing he said was, "I don't want to talk about it right now." And the drive was just quiet and awkward. He sent me a long text about how hard it was to get the ring, how he felt rejected by his closest person, and that I embarrassed him. I tried to explain that it's not that I didn't want to marry him. It was our best friend's wedding and they deserve their moment. That we should create our own and not piggyback off theirs. He got offended and said that if I wanted to marry him, I wouldn't have stopped his proposal in front of everybody. This situation perplexes me. I've never seen the appeal of proposing at someone else's wedding and tried to handle the situation in a way that I felt was calm and chill. But he's very adamant that I ruined the proposal, made him look like an a-hole, and thus I'm the a-hole. Am I missing something? Should I admit I was wrong and have just let his proposal go at our friend's wedding? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole. The bride-to-be is one of your best friends and was not down with your man proposing at her wedding. Who cares if the groom thinks it would be funny? This is a 2 yes type situation from the married couple. Also, his own girlfriend told him not to propose at their wedding. This is what turns it into red flag territory. She explicitly told him not to do it there, as did the bride. Now he's mad because they meant what they said. That's not a good sign. Not the a-hole. It was bad taste for him to propose at the wedding. It would have been unfair to the bride and groom, not to mention tacky. He needs to get over it and move on. Out of all the possible scenarios to propose, he chose the worst options. You did the right thing by stopping him. No one knew he was going to propose, so he shouldn't feel embarrassed. I did try to tell him that. Our friends, the literal hosts, weren't even that mad after I explained the situation. They just said thank you for stopping him and no one else really said anything about it. He doesn't really care that they were not okay with him proposing at their wedding. He is selfish. Remember little details through your relationship. Good luck. He also didn't care about enjoying his friend's wedding past his proposal. The more I think on it, I'm low-key wondering if he didn't want to plan the whole proposal. He kept talking about proposing in front of everyone. He completely ignored the person he wants to marry and the ones getting married. I bet he was like, oh man, this is perfect. It'll be the perfect setting. Everyone will already be there. It'll look romantic, and there will already be photographers there, etc. Basically, a free date night he didn't have to plan, because otherwise, he would have listened to the woman he wants to marry and not did it then. Now for the update. Hi all, this is an update from a post I made 2 days ago. I responded to a few comments, but before proceeding with our convo, I read almost every comment, hoping to gain new perspectives and see the situation I presented from a different light. After I got home from the wedding, my boyfriend and I texted back and forth. After he went to bed, I made my Reddit post because I absolutely felt like an a-hole. I was second-guessing everything and thought the night would have gone better if I had just let him do his thing. After seeing the responses to my post, I'm more solidified in that I made the right decision. Yes, the night was ruined, but I'd be more comfortable with my life moving forward. I gave my boyfriend and myself a day to think about this and come back with clearer heads. That was yesterday. I took a lot of people's advice and tried to reflect on if this behavior was a grand showing of any smaller reaction. The stonewalling isn't super new. In fights at the start of our relationship, he would get quiet and make a small showing of secluding himself. I'd counter this by giving my boyfriend his space and telling him that moving forward, to just say he didn't have the words to talk about it and we can reconvene when we're ready to talk. This worked for us. It gave him time to choose his words. We'd have a good discussion of what went wrong and how we could fix it moving forward. I didn't think that he was overtly trying to make me feel worse by the silent treatment back then. However, ignoring me for the rest of our time at the wedding hurt so much. Not even saying, I just need space right now, and rejecting to hold my hand by pulling away felt like he was pseudo-counter-rejecting me. This was a first. I felt like he was trying to make me feel worse through his lack of communication. That's all I noticed. I've had a partner be verbally abusive to me before, and another who wasn't willing to talk about things they did wrong, refusing to take any blame. My boyfriend hasn't done any of that. I'm not saying I recognize all patterns of abuse, but I'd say I'm versed in a few. There's also been no real history of me catering to him constantly as others were asking. If either person had strong feelings one way or another in different scenarios, we'd often be fine with that person getting their way. Otherwise, if we both didn't care all that much, he loves to use a wheel-spinning website to make decisions, and I think it's cute. We met earlier today. He came over and we sat in my living room. He broke down. He vehemently apologized and said he felt like an a-hole. He said he had been reflecting all of yesterday and talking to his dad about the situation. His dad got mad at him and talked him off his ego crash. His words, not mine. He had already sent a message to our friends, now flying to their honeymoon in West Europe, apologizing for making their most important day about him and for not properly celebrating them. I asked why he neglected our conversation from months before. He said that the groom and their group of friends had egged him on in private since, not to propose at the wedding, but to do it soon. He didn't originally plan on doing it at the wedding. He's had the ring with him for about a month, never had any real plan, and wanted it to just be spontaneous. He told me he got caught up in the atmosphere of the wedding, saw his best friend with his girl, and couldn't stop picturing us in the same scenario. His urge overran his common sense, in his terms, and he made a choice he ultimately wishes he could take back. It very much spiraled from there. I noted that while his heart was in the right place, that doesn't excuse the crap storm he put me through after. I expressed to him that ignoring me really hurt me, that him saying my rejection to his proposal was the reason for his embarrassment and shutdown was unfair, especially since we had already established for him not to do that. He accepted this and continued to apologize, admitting it was very unfair of him and that he should have handled his emotions and embarrassment better, especially towards me. We had a lull in our conversation after he asked, "Where do we go from here?" At this point, I didn't want to just return back to normal. A day where I expressed to him that I felt the prettiest in a long time, expected us to have enormous fun and watch our best friends have their moment to shine, turned into a day where I was crying in my room reading Reddit comments about how I should break up with him. I genuinely thought I was the a-hole who should have just bit the bullet and accepted a proposal in a way that I and others thought wasn't okay. I told him that if we were to move forward, he needed to seek a therapist to help him manage his emotions. Not only from this, but other signs that he may have a panic disorder. My mom works for a mental health clinic and has offered resources before. I said that I needed time to rebuild my trust in him. He understood and is going to seek mental health resources through my mom's clinic. Until then, we'll be on a week or so break with an open channel of communication. He's going to find appropriate channels to better himself, and I'm going to take myself on a mini vacation after the emotional roller coaster that was this weekend. We did talk about what each other's ideal proposal was, something we should have talked about before the trigger was even pulled on it. I said that I didn't care for anything fancy. I just prefer it not to be public. He said that he wanted to make a grand showing of love to me and didn't care where or how. He asked if it was okay to have friends and family present or if that broke my public rule. I said that was fine and was happy with a communicative compromise. I also stated that I didn't want to be proposed to for a while, so that we could let this situation rest and figure ourselves out from here. He accepted this. Something I thought was really sweet that I wanted to mention was that before he left, he said, "I do think I owe you some dancing." And so we slow danced in my living room for about a half hour until he left. A small and romantic action, probably to earn brownie points, but the conversation did reassure me that he's willing to try and be better. He recognized he was in the wrong and that a joyful day was robbed by pride and not rejection. This was about as ideal of an outcome as I'd hoped. Thank you all for taking time out of your days to reply and bring me back to earth. Thank you to those who messaged me in private to make sure I was okay or to give input. While the future is still obscure, it's a little clearer than it was a couple of days ago. I have a clearer understanding now of what I want and what's healthy. Moving forward, I will do every ounce of weighing before I enter what should be the most important commitment you can make to a person you love, and I'll keep a more careful eye on his behaviors and how he may react to adverse situations. I hope the best for you all as many have for me. Finally, someone who actually talked it out as adults, rather than just jumping to immediately discussing ending the relationship. I'm glad you guys made up and made proactive steps to actually mend the relationship. Shout out to the dad for giving the boyfriend a reality check. I picture the poor guy face palming so hard his soul almost left his body after hearing the stunt his son made. Oh yeah, poor dad had to be thinking, "Oh my god, I've raised an idiot." My word, I missed the first post, so I'm just catching up. What a situation. I hope you are really proud of yourself. That was a really difficult position to be put in, and you handled it really well. I'm very impressed. To come out of it with such a grown-up solution, and to have managed in the moment, under extreme pressure, to not derail your friend's wedding is a minor triumph. Whatever happens next, you have really done well here, and it won't be your fault if it fails to work out. I wish you all the best, and hope you both get the proposal you want in the end. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my fiancé he has to cut off his friend group if he wants to marry me? I've been with my fiancé for 8 years and we recently got engaged. Overall, things are great, but there's one thing I've always hated: his main group of friends. One of them is actually my ex. Yeah, awkward, but that's not even the issue. The whole group is full of guys who cheat, go to strip clubs constantly, brag about hooking up with random girls, and just have zero respect for relationships. My ex especially loves to say cheating is normal and tries to push that mindset onto the others. Honestly, they're all the worst. My fiancé has never cheated and I do trust him. But I've told him I don't want these people around us long term. Not around our future kids, not in our lives. I said straight up that if we're getting married, this is a non-negotiable. He can stay friends with anyone who's moved on from that behavior, but the group as a whole? No thanks. He thinks I'm being controlling and says I'm asking him to throw away years of friendship. Some friends say I'm being too harsh. Others totally get it. So, am I the a-hole? Edit. The ex I mentioned is someone I dated back in high school. It was not serious, just a typical young relationship. He was not the way he is now back then. We broke up after high school and did not stay in touch. 4 years later, I met my now fiancé. I had no idea he was friends with my ex until after we started dating. By then, the ex was already in a long-term relationship. I think they have been together for around 6 to 7 years now. The first few years of my relationship were fine. His friend group seemed okay. We all hung out sometimes, even with the girlfriends, and there was nothing shady. No one talked about cheating or anything like that. But over the past 2 to 3 years, things changed. Every time my fiancé invited me to hang out with them, the conversations became uncomfortable. They talked about women, going to bars and clubs where you have to pay for women to sit at your table, and just acted like cheating was normal. I felt really off about the whole group and I started distancing myself. I told my fiancé multiple times how I felt. He says he does not go with them to those places and only sees them to play basketball or chill at someone's house. But honestly, I'm starting to question whether I have been too trusting. As for the ex's current girlfriend, she actually knows about everything. She told me she is aware of how they act and what they do, but said she would never tell anyone because they trust her. That really rubbed me the wrong way. It felt like she was proud of keeping their secrets, even if it meant protecting cheating. I decided to cut her off immediately after that conversation. I do not want someone like that in my life. It's cute that you think he's hanging out with a bunch of cheaters and he's not one too. Laughing out loud. If he hangs out with them while they act this way, he's at least okay with that behavior, more probably taking active part in it. Men are very different with their male friends than with their partners or mixed friends, and will go above and beyond to cover each other's nonsense. I've learned it the hard way by being one of the guys, not my happiest phase in life. How so many women still eat blatant lies about their man being the only good guy in a terrible group is honestly beyond me. Bet OP's boyfriend is a regular at the strip club just like the others. I was a stripper for 10 years. OP's boyfriend has definitely been in plenty of strip clubs with his friends, but he's the stingy one who doesn't tip because he's a better man than that. He sits at the bar and sneaks looks. You're the a-hole. You can't wait 8 years and then demand he cut them off. Either you trust him or you don't. Totally agree. OP's logic makes no sense to me. So, he can stay in the friend group while dating for a solid 8 years, but not if married? If you have to get your way by threat and not someone voluntarily making the decision, what's the point?
Am I the a-hole for refusing to let my boyfriend move into my house with his nephew even temporarily? So I'm 23 female, inherited my grandparents' house and land last year. I'd rather have my grandparents back, but at least I'm set up with a good place to live out of college and don't have to worry about housing like a lot of my friends. I've been seeing my boyfriend Adam, 24 male, for a year and a half now, and we've been planning to move in together this summer. He would be moving to my place as right now he lives in an apartment with 3 roommates. Now, Adam has an older brother that is kind of a POS. He and his girlfriends are addicts and have been involved in shady stuff in the past, so Adam only talks to them on holidays usually. They have a son, 5 male, that Adam sends birthday cards and gifts to, but hasn't spent a whole lot of time around because of the family drama. Then, a couple of weeks ago, the worst happened, and a girlfriend died. And Adam's brother is going to be in jail probably for a very long time. Adam's mom is disabled and not in a good enough health to keep up with a 5-year-old full-time, and girlfriend's family apparently disowned her and want nothing to do with it. So that leaves Adam as a guardian for the kid or foster care. I am not a kid person. I don't dislike kids, but I had my own messed up childhood, and I would not be a good parent or be able to deal with the noise and chaos of a small kid easily. Adam knows this, as we've had the what if there's an oops and future planning conversations. So I was surprised when Adam asked about moving plans up for us to live together so that he would have space to take in his nephew. I said I wasn't okay with him bringing his nephew, and that since the situation had changed, the plan would have to be put off until something was figured out. He said there's no room for his nephew at his current place, and rent is sky high, so he wouldn't be able to afford a new place on his own. My place has plenty of room and would be perfect, and this is literally the difference between his nephew staying with family and going God knows where. We argued, and his mom has been calling me to beg me to let them stay with me for a while until they can make other arrangements. I have a feeling that a little while would turn into permanently once the kid got comfortable. Mutual friends have been telling me I'd be an a-hole for not helping Adam, at least temporarily because I'm lucky to have the space. But I really don't want my space invaded like that, and have to deal with kicking them out eventually if nothing else comes up. Now for the top comments before reading the update. Doesn't CPS usually look to all the child's relatives? His mother's family may have disowned her, but there might be someone in her family that would take in a 5-year-old child. It already looks like Adam won't get custody of the boy, even if he had a suitable living arrangement, and he expects that to be you. Since that's a solid no, and it should be from your perspective, CPS needs to talk to the mother's family. It's admirable that Adam wants to step up, but as you say, he has no idea what that entails, and it will be worse for the boy to live with a 20-something who can't even afford a place to live by himself. Has there been any word about her family? As far as I know, nobody else has agreed to take the kid. His mom was telling me that nobody from the girlfriend's side will even claim her body, so they were trying to figure out what to do about that as well. Unpopular opinion, but you're the a-hole. Taking them in long-term is one thing, but helping them out until they find a better place is not a big ask. If you are worried, then write a lease. Talk to him and make sure he understands that this is just until they find a new place. I'm sure your boyfriend is having a hard time with this situation too. It's a lot bigger deal than that. Even with a lease, if Adam can't find somewhere and refuses to go, I would have to give them 30 days notice to move before starting eviction. And that would take at minimum like 30 days beyond that. So then I'm stuck for at least an extra month or two with 2 people in my house that I don't want there. One an angry ex, the other an already traumatized kid who will be taken back by CPS anyway if Adam is evicted with no place to go and doesn't need to be exposed to any more adults fighting an instability. This is one reason why it's obvious to me that Adam isn't ready to parent this kid. He doesn't have a plan that doesn't involve other people doing most of it for him. It seems like your boyfriend is maybe going to have to decide whether he wants to take care of his nephew or be with you. I told my husband that I would be the parent to 4 kids if anything happened to my sister or brother-in-law when we first got together. I don't want kids and neither does he, but he married me knowing there was a chance we could end up guardians. At the end of the day, it's your life, your house, and your peace. You get to decide what you're comfortable with. No a-holes here. Also, squatters' rights are a pain in the butt. There's a show on Netflix called Worst Roommates Ever, and one of the episodes is about roommates who refused to leave and the nightmares of tenancy rights. Not a-hole, but this is the end of your relationship. Yeah, sadly, it probably is. I'd be happy to continue dating seriously without living together, because it would still be a year or 2 before I'd feel comfortable getting engaged and married, and that's plenty of time to work on a solution. But if it's now or bust, I'm going to have to pick bust. Feeling pressured into things is a big deal for me. Yeah, getting forced into that kind of thing by circumstance is a slippery slope to resentment and regret for everyone involved. Not a-hole, pure doing the right thing. Yes, the pressure will never end. You're absolutely making the right decision. Stop accepting calls from his mom. Block her number. You need to get yourself some new friends too. Don't let those mutual friends pressure you. If they won't accept a no for an answer now, it won't get any easier once they're in your home. Not a-hole. Now for the updates. Well, decision made. I broke up with him last night. Reading all the responses made me realize that I don't actually want him to move in, with or without his nephew at this point. He did not take it well at all, but probably another reason this wasn't going to work in the end. Hopefully, he and his mom can figure something out together. Update 2. A small update for this. Some of you guys were totally right about his intentions. He dropped the idea of taking his nephew in a few days after I broke up with him and called from a mutual friend's phone to ask me to take him back. I asked him why he wasn't going to take in his nephew, and he said it would be too hard to do alone. So looks like he was expecting me to help him with the kid all along, instead of just letting them stay for a while. Without a free place to live and a built-in helper, he's not interested. I did not take him back. I think the breakup was the best thing that could have happened, and I feel a lot better without him in my life. Thanks for the advice. I came from you help your family when they need it. Sounds like when things are uncomfortable, OP runs. My now ex wasn't my family. That's a super high bar of connection we hadn't gotten to yet. It would have been at least another year or 2 before I would have considered him a permanent fixture. His nephew isn't my family by extension. I'm on board with him helping his family though, just not at my expense. She made the right choice, and man do I feel bad for that kid. For sure. When you know, you know. And no one should ever be pressured into having kids they don't want. People have them so casually. It's life-altering if you're doing it even half-baked. It's always life-altering. But if you're doing it half-baked, it becomes the wrong kind for all parties. Hollywood has this idea of person ends up in a weird situation, gets a kid. It's hard for a while, but eventually they pull it together and it all works out for the best. It's not realistic. Kids are hard work all day, every day. And if you don't actually like them that much, there will be times where they are having a tantrum and all you want to do is scream at them. There is no getting better along the way. They will still be high maintenance. Always. Yeah. Young guy who drops the kid as soon as he doesn't have a helper? He was expecting her to do 90% of the work. Poor kid. I hope he called it in the analysis too. If she let him move in and then evicted him, she'd be stuck for 2 months with an angry ex and a traumatized kid. I think she knew how it would play out at that point. You know, I had a strong suspicion just from the first post that the reason he was pushing so hard to move in with OP is because he was expecting to just pawn the kid off on her. Would have been very convenient for him to be lauded as a hero taking in his nephew, while his girlfriend does all the actual work raising the kid. So glad that she saw this coming, before she got any further involved and noped out. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my dad it feels like my siblings and I are half-siblings because of choices he made? So my parents had 4 children together. Me 19 female, Jaden 17 male, Remy 10 female, and Jonah 6 male. 5 years ago, we lost our mom. Then a year later, Dad remarried. Jaden and I didn't mind, though we knew Dad's wife would never be our mom. Jonah was a baby and didn't remember mom, so he started to see Dad's wife as his only mom. Remy sees herself as having 2 moms. She's not as close to Dad's wife as Jonah is, but doesn't see her as a non-parent like Jaden and I. Dad asked me and my brother not to talk about mom around Jonah, in case it interfered in the relationship he built with Dad's wife. He said he would know about mom, but didn't need to hear all about her all the time. With Remy, he just said to let her ask, but try not to talk about mom around her if she didn't ask. We respected that, although we disagreed with his decision. He said we had years with mom. They were young enough that seeing his wife as mom would be healthier for them. He also said that his wife deserved a chance to be known as mom, since she'd be raising them for the rest of their childhood, and it would be over a decade for both of them. I love all my siblings, but I know Remy used to be frustrated with Jaden and me because we wouldn't celebrate Dad's wife for Mother's Day, or because we would go to mom's grave without her, or we'd talk about mom without her. But again, that was what Dad told us to do. Jaden even told Dad it annoyed her, and he told us to keep sticking to our word. When she did ask, we would include her. But we also didn't share the same love for Dad's wife. And with Jonah, he struggles to understand how Remy has 2 moms. Jaden and I are siblings, but we have a different mom. So about a year ago, he said we were his adopted siblings, and that's how we made it make sense. We started to correct him, but Dad cut us off. So we left it alone. It did mean that Jonah kind of put us in boxes away from him, as became clear when for a school project recently, he drew his family with just Dad and Dad's wife. Remy was to decide but away from the 3, and Jaden and I were completely separate. He told his teacher that we were adopted siblings, but not really since we didn't have the same parents. And how his real family was his mom and dad. This is when Dad commented to Jaden and me that it feels like we're half siblings, instead of just siblings, that our relationship is not what he thought it would be. I told him that that is because of his choices, that his desire to override mom for Jonah, and for us to keep quiet around Remy unless she asks, means feelings and confusion have separated us. Dad told me it wasn't fair to blame him, and if Jaden and I had just been more open to his second mother, none of this would have happened. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Your dad literally told you not to explain that you weren't adopted siblings. What did he expect? He expected his explanation to make sense to a small child when Dad explained it in the most broken way possible that we were all related. He tried to say all related through him, but failed to see where confusion would come in when Jonah didn't understand different moms, multiple ones, and living together but claiming different moms. I'm pretty sure he attempted to make it simple, but simple in a full-grown man's head is not always going to be simple to a 5-year-old child. Not the a-hole. Your dad should seek out some family therapy for all of you ASAP. I don't see that happening. Especially because he would have to face the reality that who mom is to all of us is not only different, but has led to some very complicated feelings in two young kids, as well as a feeling of being left out. Does Jonah even know that the woman you know as mom gave birth to him? He's supposed to, but does not appear to know that. Last story. Am I the a-hole for showing favoritism for my daughter and financially hurting my son? My ex-wife, 36 female, and I, 36 male, have been divorced for 7 years now. We have twins, 17 male and female. My wife and I are the stereotype of high school sweethearts. I'm more of a geek, she was a cheerleader. My son takes after my wife and my daughter take after me. When they were younger, I gave them the option of allowance. They could either spend the money on what they wanted to, or I could walk them through investments and savings. My wife was all for this at a time. We explained that they each have a set amount of money that we have put away for future schooling as well as a car fund. At first, both of my kids decided to invest it, and I started to show them how to and the risk involved. My son put his into a very risky investment against my advice and ended up losing it and decided not to do it anymore within a few weeks. My daughter started off rough but quickly got the hang of it, playing with different investments and companies. She has been a deposit of most weeks. The issue is that, due to this, my daughter has saved up more money than her brother. She also likes to spend most of her time over at my house versus my son over at my ex-wife's house. My daughter's interests are more minimalistic when it comes to most things and does not spend a lot of money, though she will when she finds things she likes. She's not into fashion, rarely puts on makeup, and when she does, it is very light. Body used but nice car, etc. They just got their acceptance letters for college, and she will be able to pick any of her choices due to grades and her savings, plus our contributions. My son, on the other hand, spends most of his money when he gets it. Always has new clothes constantly, bunch of shoes, bought a new, very expensive car with payments, goes out all the time, and spends everything he gets. My son is upset because he can't go to the college he wants, because he would need to get a loan, and with that I make, he doesn't qualify for much. Now, my ex says I need to stop favoring my daughter and financially hurting my son and just paying for his college, among other things. Her and her side of the family are calling me an a-hole for not paying because you easily could. I told them that they had a choice when he was younger, and he didn't listen. I also pointed out the fact that if he had saved his money, he would have also been able to go where he wanted. He needed to get a job to cover costs if he wanted to go, and that life was about choices. Edited to Ed. I did keep asking him to try again through the years, but he didn't care. I gave up almost 2 years ago when he said he wanted to live almost full-time at his mom's house, and we had an argument that made me back off. I didn't just stop and drop it when he was really young. We did not give him his college fund. He has enough money in his college fund that he can attend a community college for 4 years, or a good college for 2. Nothing fancy or big. The money that was invested was allowance, or spare money. My daughter would use birthday money, Christmas money, allowance, or any extra chore money. I'm not bragging, but I could send them to the best colleges for as many years as they want, and fund their lives comfortably. I mean, you're talking about decisions made when they were kids. It's great that your daughter was smart with her funds, but it's very reasonable to expect that a lot of kids would, like your son, risk and lose money in that situation. A decision he made at an even younger, dumber age than he is at now shouldn't affect his ability to go to college if it's within your means to help him. Edit, I get that the son has been wasting a significant amount of money all along, but 1. As someone else mentioned, kids' brains are in the process of developing in their adolescence, and some are further behind than others in that process. 2. It's been obvious for a long time that in his youth, the son has not been capable of handling his money intelligently. Right now, he's 17 and still a dummy. But as he becomes 18, 19, 20 and older, he's going to be maturing and quite possibly become a non-dummy adult. What happened to that adult's college funds? Well, his dad knowingly gave those funds to a complete dum-dum. That would be rewarding son for not saving. At most, let him live at home and go to community college. If you do not teach kids that actions have consequences, they will not learn. Otherwise, he is giving more to son than his daughter. Update. Am I the a-hole for breaking up with my boyfriend because I had a bad feeling about his best friend and him and decided to avoid drama? My 22 female was always a really chill person.
I've always gotten along with everyone, and I really appreciate my mental peace. I hate unnecessary drama. I've been dating Zach for 3 years. He's always had his best friend, Mia, who was studying in another country. They always talked via text or video call. That never bothered me at all because I also have male friends. Mia was always disinterested when Zach was on video calls with me by his side, and I wasn't interested in her either, to be honest, but Zach wanted us to be friends, so I tried. Mia listens to the same music as me, so once, 3 years ago, I texted her on WhatsApp to try to have a friendly conversation, but she saw the message, never answered me, and blocked my number. I thought, what a rude bitch, but I let it go and never talked about it to Zach, so I wouldn't cause trouble. I just thought that maybe she didn't want to make friends, and I respect that. Not long ago, she returned to the country, now to stay and live here again. Zach asked me if she could stay in our apartment, and I said no, I don't feel comfortable with other people staying there. Apparently, Zach told her that I was the one who refused to let her stay with us, because Mia has been doing everything to criticize me since that day. She has criticized my work, my studies, my hair, my clothes, etc. Zach always says that's just how Mia is, and that I should be her friend because she's really funny, her. Many times she's tried to make me jealous with comments like, "You know that I used to take baths with Zach when we were little kids?" And she would get upset when I just said, "All right," at those random comments. Because the heck, why should I be jealous of that? She sits on Zach's lap. He doesn't say anything to her about that, even though he knows I don't like it. He cuddles with her every time they have the chance. They whisper to each other, and they go out together sometimes. I obviously can't help but think that at any moment, I will come back to the apartment and she will be wearing one of his shirts. And I don't want to deal with that, to be honest. The worst thing is that Zach really seems to like seeing me jealous. When I tell him something is bothering me, he laughs, saying, "Oh, you're jelly," and stuff like that without taking me seriously. It's pretty annoying to know that he likes me to feel that way, and Mia has been really irritable lately, like she's competing with me. It feels like they're trying to make a novella with me. She always tries to make me jealous with stupid things, like when she said she knows Zach's favorite sushi and I don't, to which I replied, "Then buy sushi for everyone, because I don't care at all." I've told Zach on several occasions that his friend is an idiot, and he just says Mia is like that, and I should just ignore her comments. But honestly, I don't have the energy to deal with that girl and not beat her up at the end of the month. So I told Zach, I'm going to move out, and it's better to give ourselves some time. I haven't moved yet, so he's been coming to my room to tell me that I'm letting my insecurities speak for me, and that he doesn't feel anything for Mia. I told him I'm not insecure. I just want to protect my mental peace and avoid drama. He got angry, saying I should fight for him and not be so apathetic. He said that if I loved him, I would be fighting for him. But I have always had a philosophy that if someone wants to cheat on you, they will do it even if you say no. I don't know if I'm being too cold about this, but I'm not the kind of person who enjoys drama. I was always the cold type of person. I hate it, and I know Zach and Mia are enjoying this love triangle. I really care about Zach, and we had a great relationship, but I care much more about my mental health. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the updates. If he isn't fighting for you, why should you fight for him? Yes, if he loved her, he would respect reasonable boundaries and ask his friend to take a step back when she crosses them. He clearly is enjoying having two women be jealous and fight over him enough to actually be super vocal about enjoying jealously, which most men who enjoy this situation are not stupid enough to do. It seems like he enjoys the jealousy so much, he would go out of his way to create situations that would promote it, probably edging closer and closer to cheating. Seriously, I can't believe you won't fight for me when other women sit on my lap. Don't you know you should strip your clothes off and offer a to win my attention back? Him, essentially. You should never have to fight for the respect or attention of your partner. You should have started running when you found out they cuddle and sit on each other's laps, WTF. I know. I let that go because according to Zach, he and Mia are like siblings. I also have brothers, and I don't do those things with them, but Zach hugs a lot with his sisters, so I thought it was a normal thing in his family. But then it started to make me uncomfortable, and he didn't care. Now I feel dumb for letting that go lol. Mini update. I haven't moved out yet because we pay rent together. The whole month of the rent is already paid by me because he couldn't come up with the money for this month, but he's supposed to pay for the next month. I don't have any problem with this. He didn't take advantage of me or anything. Something happened and he ran out of money for rent. Nothing shady about it. Plus, I have to wait for my parents to fix my room again. So for now, I have to leave my things here. At the beginning of the year, the lease was updated, so I spent a lot of money on that, and the rent went up by 40%. So it's money wasted now. I'm pretty sad about that since my father was the one who helped me pay for my part of the expenses for that apartment. Now for the full update. I discovered Mia was sleeping with Zach. She's expecting his baby, and they kicked me out of the apartment. But I'm pregnant too. Nah, that didn't happen. I spoke with Zach to ask him if we could have a good coexistence, because I'm going to stay a few more months here. After talking a bit with him and my father, we came to the conclusion that it's better for both of us to continue living together in a healthy way. We both have our own bedrooms after all. He promised me that he wouldn't enter my bedroom without an invitation and apologized for doing that before. There are many reasons why we should continue to live together at least until the lease expires, but I'm not going to bore everyone with those reasons. Most of them are because of money and how expensive the bus would be to get from my home to work and college every day if I went back to my parents' house. We both cried, and I asked Zach what he expected to happen when I saw him treat Mia that way. He admitted that he likes the way I look when I'm upset. He said it's a self-esteem issue he has, but he needs me to show him all the time that I love him. And the fact that I never reacted affected him a lot. Honestly, he's attractive. I know he's always been pretty conceited, but I used to think that was just how he was. Now I see that it's actually a problem he has. Narcissism. Zach said that when he sees I don't get jealous in the way he likes, he feels annoyed and even more insecure because he thinks I don't love him, since he always shows me when he's jealous. He said he doesn't have feelings for Mia at all, but he likes to see my face when she talks to me that way. Zach knows Mia likes him, but he said she's like that with all her male friends too. At first he thought it was funny to see my annoyed face, but then it started to bother him that I never reacted. I did react, but by talking like an adult. He probably wanted me to yell and pull her hair. The worst part? I was 100% going to do it if she kept behaving that way. That's why I decided to cut off the relationship before I reacted like that. Zach even mentioned other times he wanted me to be jealous about other girls, but honestly, I had no idea he did that. I think if someone is going to cheat on you, they're going to do it even if you tell them not to. I'm not going to fight for a penis. I told him he's a weird idiot and that his insecurity ruined our relationship. I had that thought of, did I really sleep with this person? And now I want the earth to swallow me. He has always been very kind and we had a beautiful relationship. But I just can't forget that behavior and the fact that he made me feel bad about Mia. Our conversation was pretty calm after that. Zach admitted that he ruined our relationship, and I made it clear to him that we won't be a couple again. I'm a little uncomfortable, but surely as the days go by we can be friends, or at least be civil with each other. At the end of the day, we both want different things in a relationship. He wants a passionate woman who feels things just as intensely as he does, his words, and I want a mature and focused man to live in peace with. I think I'm too cold for him, and he's looking for another kind of woman. Anyway, just know that, no, I'm not going to be in a relationship with Zach again. That boat has already sailed. For now, I just want to try to make this coexistence work, since we both know that it's what's convenient for us, and at least on my part, I'm not going to screw it up. Zach is a moron. He will absolutely sleep with Mia while OP is still living there to get a reaction. OP Gray rock your ex. He's not going to get any reaction anyway. If they do, I hope it's in his room so I can watch TV in peace. Not that you owe Mia anything, but I'd definitely warn her that you broke up with Zach, and it turns out Zach used girls to make you jealous because he thought it proved that you loved him. that he was using her and others and playing with their emotions, seeming interested just to get a reaction out of you, that he's toxic AF, insecure AF. And well, she's welcome to him, but she should realize both he'll do that to her and he was using her. So do what she wants with that information. Zach is a creep. He's saying it's insecurity, but it seems more like, well, he said he likes to see you upset. Some people get off on hurting their partners and manipulating them to try harder because they think they are losing their partner. I wouldn't be surprised if Zach's excuse of insecurity is just a manipulative way to make him sound pathetic rather than more malicious in his actions. Mia knows. I think they both just like the attention. Mia knows he's flirting with her to make you jealous, but does she know he doesn't like her rather than she thinks he likes her and just doesn't care it ticks you off? For sure, if she goes along with it, she's a freaking a-hole who likes the attention. Zach told me he made it clear to Mia that he's not going to sleep with her, but he also said that Mia is flirtatious with everyone, and he kind of justified her behavior. So yeah, according to Zach, Mia knows everything. But that's what Zach said, so who knows if it's true or not. For my part, they can both buzz off, and I don't plan on talking to Mia again. Next story. Am I the a-hole exposing my wife's cheating and son born out of wedlock with another man? My wife and I are in the process of getting divorced, and it's taking ages. She didn't work, so I have to pay heavy alimony. She has a 3-year-old son, and the son clearly doesn't look like me. I found her chats with another man, so I got a private DNA test, and he isn't my son. It was a hard punch to the gut, but I am still forced to pay for the kid until he finishes college. 50% of my salary goes to her and child support. I loved him, but this betrayal affected my mental health, and I cut them both off. I'm paying maintenance to both. I was cheated. I was being painted as the bad person everywhere, so I posted about it on my social media with a report. It went viral, and she is being shamed by the masses. If I can't save myself financially, I'll make sure her reputation goes down the gutter. If I'm going to be ruined financially and mentally, I will ruin her reputation and future options. Her family and she are begging me to take it down, but I won't. They're also begging me to forgive her. No forgiveness from me. Not after she filed fake cases on me, including DV, when I never raised a hand on her. My sister is in Dubai, and she filed a case on her. My dad had a liver transplant, and she filed DV cases on him, and my mother while they were in the hospital. So yeah, she is a horrible human being and misused the law meant for actual victims. They say I raised the kid, but I can't see him as my child anymore, and my anger takes over when he is near me. I know I will be forced to pay for him for the next 2 decades, which makes me bitter. Because in our country, even if the wife cheats and has a kid with another man, the husband is automatically assumed to be the legal father. Luckily, before all this, I transferred my assets to my mom's name and will make sure she and her son get nothing if I die. After the divorce is over, I will never marry. I'll adopt orphans and raise them, but not him. Because at least in that case, I will have the option to adopt. Edit. I have clearly said it's the law. People keep asking, why can't you hire a lawyer and get it changed? I have clearly explained, it is the law and no lawyer can change that. Not the a-hole. Have you thought about moving to another country to avoid having to pay anything? Because that's what I would do. I would sooner live in a hut across the world than pay a dime to a cheating ex-wife and son that isn't mine. I am in late 30s, and it is not easy to restart a career in other land. My parents are old and they also need me, so it is not an option for me. Sorry, why are you forced to pay for child support with certifiable DNA evidence you're not related? Just wondering. DNA tests are not valid here anymore. Laws are stone age. I am already facing many fake cases by her. This is the law of land. I am powerless. Last story. Am I the a-hole for considering ending my relationship because my partner's kids clearly don't like me or want me around? I, 31 female, started dating Mark, 34 male, 3 years ago. Mark is a single dad to a 14-year-old son and a 12-year-old daughter. The mother of Mark's children died 11.5 years ago. He dated very little after her death before we met, but had dated some. I was his first relationship after the passing of his late partner. As a couple, we work well together and share a lot of the same values and goals in life. We can have fun together, but have also been able to discuss the serious stuff. I get along well with his family, but not with his kids. From the start, about 2 years now, they have been cold and unwelcoming. Mark has spoken to them. He told me they're in therapy, and he has encouraged them to give me a chance. But they can't hide the fact that they don't want me around. We have gone slow and have tried to find ways to ease the tension and show I'm not a bad person or here to take their dad from them or replace their mom. Nothing works. We never tried therapy together, but I don't even live with them, and I'm not sure how willing they would be to speak in any therapy sessions with me. My partner has spoken to a therapist and has done some therapy with his kids and implemented the suggestions given, but those methods were a waste of time. Nothing changed. I know these things take time. I don't expect sunshine and rainbows overnight. But the more time we spend together, the more I feel his kids' dislike of me. Even when I'm just there, not trying to engage and simply existing in the same house as them, the tension can be felt. They ignore me. They won't even look at me. Yet they still radiate tension. I know my partner's family has talked to the kids about giving me a chance. I don't know if that helps or makes it worse. I feel like we're facing the reality that they might never accept me or like me. And now I'm considering ending this relationship because I want to be a mom, and I don't want to wait too long. And even if I waited until his kids were out of the house, then how would that be fair? To have kids who'd have half-siblings who refuse to have anything to do with them or won't even speak to their mom. My partner and I talked about it. He said he'll understand if it's too much. We're taking some time so I can think. Since then, his sister reached out to me after I didn't show up to a couple of things and asked if everything was okay. She told me she hoped she wasn't intruding too much, but she wanted me to know how happy I make her brother and how nicely I fit with the family. She understands the kids aren't too welcoming, but it would be such a shame for me to walk away. It made me feel bad because I know my partner is a good guy and his family has been amazing. But his kids will always be his kids. And I don't know if I could let us come between them, or if I could handle living with them always disliking me. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Actually, this is quite an eye-opener. The OP's concerns for her happiness, with a touch of foresight, and the well-being of her future children are commendable, especially when faced with such hostility from her stepkids. Not blaming really, not the a-hole. It's sensible to consider the needs of all involved in a new relationship, even if it's tough love. This is or will be a super unpopular comment, but the kids, especially the oldest, are kinda sorta a-holes. The youngest one will follow the oldest's lead, especially about a newcomer. 14 is old enough to understand that after 2 years, and they still don't live together, she isn't coming to replace their mother. She's additional support, etc. I can totally understand their behavior for the first year, but unless OP has done something intentionally or unintentionally unforgivable/offensive to the kids, their hostility isn't acceptable. If after 2 years you're intentionally hostile in your teens to someone that hasn't done anything wrong but love your parent, then you're an a-hole. The kid's mother died almost 12 years ago when they were babies, and they still have a problem? It's impossible to say what the real issue is, but I doubt it's an am I the a-hole case at all. I notice your partner's family wants you to stay, at least the sister does. So these kids might just be jerks. Are they? How do they treat other people? Do they just flat out dislike you, and it has nothing to do with replacing the mother who died that they don't even remember? The kids are good around other people. They love their family, have friends, are respectful and friendly to others. They treat strangers better than me, honestly. They dislike me, but there have been comments about their mom in the last 2 years. It's why I tried to reassure them. They don't remember her, but they know about her and she was talked about with them. She still is.
Update: I don't want to help my boyfriend buy a house. Original post: I've been with Mark for 2 years now. When we got into a relationship, we discussed what we wanted: marriage, kids. But we haven't really talked about taking the next step yet. Mark's dream has been to own his own house. He has been saving up for it, but because we live in a medium to high cost of living city, it's not going as fast as he'd have liked. Yesterday, he asked me if I would consider covering rent and utilities for a year while he aggressively saves. Frankly, I'm not 100% on board, and I told him. I asked him if he has thought about marriage. He said that it might be too soon, and I agree, but that he definitely loved me and saw a future with me. I asked him if the house would completely be his own or if we'd buy it together. I decided it would completely be his own because we aren't married yet, and buying a house together would be risky. I asked him if he'd pay me back his share, and he said eventually. I have inherited a house from my grandmother in a high cost of living city, which I'm currently renting out. I do not want to lose it, and when I inherited it, Mark and I agreed that if we ever head towards marriage, he's fully on board to sign a prenup that ensures he has no claim on it. Here's my problem. Mark has not done anything for my grandma's house. Neither have I. The house was in perfect condition. I rented it out within months of finalizing the inheritance. But he literally has no reason to stake a claim. But by covering rent plus utilities, I will be providing monetary assistance to him, and if we break up, I'd have lost quite a bit of money for seemingly no reason. In a way, I'd feel entitled to a part of his house. Is this a selfish way to think? I love him, but I don't want to assume this risk, especially because our future together is not clear. I asked him if he'd consider moving in with his parents, and I'll find a roommate, temporarily for a year so he could save up the money. This way, I wouldn't have to spend more than I need to. He'd achieve his goal and we can still continue our relationship. But he said I was being incredibly selfish and untrustworthy because it would be our home, just not on paper, that I clearly didn't see a future with him. And now he's not talking to me. A part of me feels like this relationship is doomed. Is there a way to salvage this? Now for the top advice before reading the update. So he wants to buy a house with your money in part, but you don't get to own any of it? That makes no sense. How about you split the rent and you each save the other half so that you have enough money to put a down payment on a house together if you are ever ready to do it? Assuming you still want a relationship with a selfish kind of guy. Oh hell no. That's such a prick thing to ask of you. He sounds like a loser. I'm sorry. Yikes. If you help pay for it, absolutely get your name on it. That seems like a huge red flag and manipulation. Especially him calling you selfish for wanting part of what you're helping to pay for. If he plans on paying you back, then just say you'll take your name off when he pays you back. Simple as that. Yep, dude knows exactly what he's doing here. You're right, he does sound hell of a manipulative. He straight up asked Opie to gift him thousands of dollars while disguising it as you cover for me. How much more does he need to save? A year's worth of rent is what? $12,000? He's going to owe you at least 12 grand and likely wouldn't be able to repay that very quickly considering he couldn't save that unless you covered his rent for a year. 12 grand is also not going to put a very significant dent in any down payment amounts. No offense. Since you already discussed prenups, if you do decide to go through with this agreement, get a lawyer and have them write a contract. State in the contract that you covered X dollars of rent and that is obligated to pay you back, or that you get that equity stake in the property, etc. And now for the update. Thank you to everyone who commented on the post. It made me realize that I was not being unreasonable at all. After a few days, I proposed the following to Mark. I'd front him the money instead of paying for his rent for 12 plus months he needed for the down payment on his house. He'd calculate what percent that money would be of the total cost of the house. The houses he was considering were in the $500,000 range. I would own that percent of the house. Not 50-50 or anything, just the percent I paid for. If he pays me back within a year, without any interest, I'd remove my name from the deed and he'd own his house completely. If he doesn't pay me back within the year, he'd have to pay me whatever my percent was worth a year down the line, if he intended on owning the house fully. Otherwise, I was happy to have a 10% claim on the house forever. So basically, if I fronted him $50,000 for a $500,000 house, I'd own 10%. I would charge him no interest for the first year. However, if he doesn't pay me back, then he'd need to pay me 10% of whatever the house was worth the next year. So if the house is $600,000, he'd owe me $60,000 and so on. To be honest, this isn't that great a deal, because real estate prices are nuts right now and are increasing pretty dramatically. So this is literally worse than taking out a loan. I proposed this in the hopes that he'd decline and we just have to go back to never having discussed this at all. To my surprise, he immediately agreed and said that he'd get a lawyer to draft an agreement, even though he hadn't finalized the house. Well, okay then. He had it ready in 2 days. He was incredibly pushy about me signing it, but I wanted to review the whole thing with my lawyer, so I didn't care. Turns out, there were some super shady clauses added, with my contribution being termed as a gift and not a loan. I'm not going to go into the details, but my lawyer basically said that this agreement was super problematic and would cause all sorts of issues down the line. He drafted an alternative and sent it to Mark. Mark did not sign it and was adamant that I signed the original agreement and wouldn't tell me why. He got increasingly angry, became kind of violent, which was the first time that I was very surprised/scared, and called me a witch for not trusting him and for reducing our relationship to a transaction. After 2 whole days of this, of emotional manipulation and gaslighting, I decided that I no longer trusted or cared for this man, and there was no way in hell I can continue to be in a relationship with him. So yeah, I'm out of that relationship, y'all, and my money is all mine. All I can feel is peace. Too long didn't read. Mark is now an ex. Your proposed plan was well thought out. My contribution being termed as a gift and not a loan. Wow. So it turns out he was a con man all along. A long con to steal $50,000. Mark is now my ex. Even smarter move. I believe for his mortgage to be approved, he'd need to show the money was a gift and not a loan. If he has another loan listed of $50,000, it's going to change the terms of his mortgage. All in all though, good move not getting involved. It had disaster written all over it. That makes sense. But he could have told her that and explained it and asked if that was okay. But he didn't. He had it hidden in the small print and never mentioned it to her. I guarantee his lawyer would have drawn his attention to that fact. It took her lawyer to spot it. There was a huge chance he'd have used that clause to never repay her. As a banker, I see things, and money and family/friends should never mix. Good on you for protecting yourself. My sister was one of the bank people with a desk, so higher than a teller but not a manager at a branch. And the stories she told? The guy never had any intention of paying you back that $50,000. I wouldn't be surprised if his plan was to string you along with a promise of marriage and milk you for rent money as long as possible. Good on you for seeing through his BS. Agreed. I think him getting violent, seriously, what a piece of scum, confirms that he ultimately viewed OP as nothing more than an ATM. Called me a witch for not trusting him. I can't say this with 100% certainty, but I'm 100% positive every single piss-taking grifter's final words are exactly the same. Translation, how dare you find out and call me out for knowingly trying to rip you off. It really does light up how little shame they have and how manipulative and comfortable they are, acting like a decent person to get what they want from you. Once you translate that line, you get the benefit of a little shudder and ew when you think of that person, so getting over them is easier. Now for the last story. Update. My husband is lying about working late. Original post. I am 32 female. My husband of 5 years is 37 male. Since early 2020, he got a promotion. He told me one of the responsibilities of this promotion was that he had to work until 9:30 p.m. every Friday. He told me it was to oversee the finalization of all the work they had done that week. He told me it wasn't just him, it was also one of his coworkers, Glenn, and some other people. Glenn is in his 60s, and I've met him a handful of times pre-2020, but him and his wife don't go out much. I just happened to run into Glenn's wife at the supermarket. I barely recognized her, but she called out my name first and we began talking. She was saying she was finally beginning to feel comfortable going out again, and how her and Glenn had begun to take cooking classes, so she was at the store getting something for their class tonight. I was confused and asked if Glenn was getting out early tonight. Since my husband never gets out early, he always comes home at 10 p.m. on the dot. She said no. They were going after he came home from work. I was like, wow, you guys are really night owls. She looked confused and was like, well, it's over 7:30, so I asked her what about Glenn working late on Fridays. And she was so confused and was like, he's never worked late on Fridays. So it was pretty awkward and I just told her to enjoy her class and left. I know he said it's Glenn is working late with. He talks about it all the time. After everyone left, me and Glenn got eggs for dinner. Glenn complained how tired he was the whole time, etc. He normally comes home at 5:30. His phone is always off at work, so when I try to call him, it went right to voicemail. His direct office phone just rings, and the actual company line, so I can't reach anyone because it's after hours. I don't know what to do until he gets home. I know I need to confront him, but I'm terrified of what he's going to say. Now for the top advice before reading the update. I don't have any specific advice other than confronting him about this 2-year ongoing lie. Also, I'm now emotionally invested in this and want to know what happens after you talk to him. It's an awful situation for sure. I can't see this being anything but bad, but I really hope it's not infidelity. I'd go sit outside his work. See if his car is there for the next few Fridays. If he leaves, follow. Do some investigating. I wanted to surprise you for dinner, but you weren't there. Ask him about his evening at work. Make him seem like all is well. He'll end up mentioning Glenn at some point, but try to avoid asking him about Glenn directly or he could suspect you may know. Once he spun a web of lies about Glenn and him working together, you then tell him that you met Glenn's wife and she told you he's never worked late. Watch him try to lie his way out of that one. And don't give too much info. Let him talk. They generally get uncomfortable with the silence and talk themselves into a hole. This is dumb if she already knows he's lying. Just tell him, so I ran into Glenn's wife and she said he doesn't work late. What have you been doing on Fridays? Don't play stupid games. Be confident, have self-esteem, and communicate. I'm a super patient person, so I would investigate. Go to his work on Fridays, sit at a parking lot, maybe follow if he leaves. I'd take pictures. Dig into financials and calls and anything else you can think of. If anything is going on, I'd compile it all and give it to him with some divorce papers. If you aren't patient, you straight up tell him what happened. I'd probably just tell him I saw Glenn and he said he never works late with you. Don't even believe him when he says it's another Glenn. Pack your things and go until he decides to tell you the truth. Maybe it isn't something as bad as you think. Maybe he's taking some classes or something. Either way, you have got to find out and then let us know what happened. And now for the update. Good day. My last post was about how I found out my husband lied to me about working late for the last 2 years. He said he had to work Fridays until 9:30 p.m. Then I ran into the wife of the co-workers he claimed he was working with, and she let me know that wasn't true. I confronted my husband when he got home at 10 p.m. on the dot on Friday. I told him I knew he was lying about working late. He tried to deny it until I told him I had spoken to Glenn's wife. He then tried to say Glenn had stopped working late recently, but then I let him know that Glenn's wife told me he had never worked late. Eventually, I found out he was cheating on me with a woman down the street from us. She has 2 entrances into her driveway, and he would use the north entrance and then park in her garage, so even if the kids and I drove by, we wouldn't see. Then he would leave her house at exactly 9:58 to be home at 10. I am leaving him, which he doesn't want. A lot of people said to get proof of his cheating. In our state, it doesn't make a difference if I had proof of adultery or not. Thank you to everyone for your comments and well wishes. Have a great night. I am so sorry. You deserve better and I'm proud of you for leaving. You do what serves you best. I mean, after all, he had no issue being profoundly selfish, a liar, and a sneak for 2 years. So he shouldn't be surprised. Divorce sucks. It's scary and stressful, but it also has another side at the end which will hopefully be filled with calm and healing for you and your children. Best wishes. I'm so sorry that you have to deal with this. The audacity of the man to claim he doesn't want her to leave him after cheating on her for 2 years. What the hell did he think was going to happen? I had been so hopeful there was another Glenn or some kind of misunderstanding for your sake. Really sorry to hear this. Wish you the best luck, OP. That sucks. So he probably went around her house on other days than Fridays. Talk to a lawyer before doing anything. You should stay in your home and ask him to leave because that gives you an advantage. Yes to this. Don't leave the house at all. Consultations help a lot and are usually free or cost around $30 to $50. You do not have to use a lawyer or pick the first one you come across. Shop around. The paperwork is not hard. I did the first steps myself. I'm sorry this happened to you. What an absolute piece of. I can write a thesis about what I think of him but won't change anything. You made a right decision, and you will end up better and stronger. You're so strong standing by your decision and not let him emotionally manipulate you. You have no idea how strong you are. Well, at least for me. Hugs from far and electronically. We're proud of you. We support you. You didn't deserve this.